सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दुग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्स सुधीर्भोक्ता dugdam गीतामृतं महत्. In this 10th lecture of the Shrimad Bhagavad Gita lecture series, today we're going to start on the topic of Karmayog. Understanding this topic will take us 2 sessions entirely. And we're not going to take the Gita in order at this point, but we're going to break the order and take this topic as one compiled topic so we understand it easily. The first section, today's topic, is teaching us about the art of karma. In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna Bhagavan tells Arjuna, Yogaha karmasu kaushalam. As we discussed in the last section, the main topic of the Bhagavad Gita is yoga. What is yoga? When you're good at your actions. It's important to do action first. Krishna Bhagavan tells Arjuna, Sarvarambha hi doshena, dhumen agniriva vrita. The way you light a fire and instantly smoke is always born with that fire. In the same way, every time you start action, there's going to be problems that are associated with it. For example, if we look through all of the arguments in the first chapter of the Shrimad Bhagavad Gita, there isn't a single argument in that where Arjuna doubts whether or not he's going to win the war. He knows he's going to win. But his problem with the war is that he doesn't want all the fuss that's associated with the war. He doesn't want to worry about any of the consequences or the repercussions about having to go through all of this hard work to win the war. He doesn't want to work for it. Otherwise, he knows he's guaranteed to win. Quite often in our lives, the question is whether or not we're going to have success. The question is whether or not it's the right way to success. Is this friction worth it? In the same way, Krishna Bhagavan tells Arjuna that every time you start an action, there's going to be problems. But despite that, you have to continue. This discussion happened in Bhagwan Swaminarayan's time at 3 different phases. In his scripture, the Vachnamrit, in 3 different Vachnamrits. The first one took place in 1820, and the last one took place in 1827. Over a span of 7 years, at 3 different times, the same discussion took place. In each discussion, Bhagwan Swaminarayan, he asks his Paramans disciples, his Swami disciples, and he says, is it better to perhaps not get involved in any action, period, and enjoy your own personal peace? Or is it better to do something and work towards a higher goal? In working towards a higher goal, there's going to be arguments and there's going to be frustration. Which of the 2 is better? And our natural tendency is to put one's personal peace, one's personal self-well-being over any external overall benefit. And on all 3 occasions, Bhagwan Swaminarayan corrects that wrong understanding. And he says, if the world is going to benefit, if people are going to benefit, then it's worth you going out of your comfort zone and working towards something. Bhagwan Swaminarayan says that when you do that, you become bhakti na patra. You become a receptacle for God's grace. This is what we want. Now, Bhagwan Swaminarayan, from 1820 to 1827, he built many mandirs. But in any of those mandirs, there were always problems. He had many sadhu disciples. Some would come, some would go, some even died after becoming sadhus, swamis. He had many difficulties in all of the different tasks that he undertook. But at no point in his life did he ever quit. He showed us through his life and through his guidance that no matter how difficult life gets, don't quit. That's why Krishna Bhagavan tells Arjuna, Sve sve karmani abhirataha sansiddhim labate naraha. If you want to be enlightened, keep at your work. Keep at it. But there are 3 things that Krishna Bhagavan warns Arjuna. He says that in practicing karma, there are 3 different things that are going to get in your way. In the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna Bhagavan tells Arjuna, Pramad alasya nidra bihi. Pramad means distraction. Alasya means laziness. Nidra bihi, nidra means sleep. These 3 things get in the way of us performing our actions properly. For example, distraction. Pramukh Swami Maharaj quite often used to define the word pramad, distraction, as not doing what you're supposed to do and in place of it doing something else. For example, we know we should be studying for an exam, but instead we scroll social media. We know we should be working at something for our job, but instead we're having conversations on the side. not doing what we're supposed to do and instead doing something else. Now, this is one of the enemies of us having a good, successful, fruitful life. Karna had many downfalls, but Dronacharya describes that Karna's biggest problem was that he was easily distracted. Anyone could say something to him and just distract him. His mind would get diverted to something else. For example, after Dronacharya passed away, there was a discussion amongst the Kauravas who should be the general of the army. Ashwathama got up and he said that I should become the general because I'm Dronacharya's son and I want revenge. At that time, Karna got up and Karna said, you want revenge, but that's not a good enough reason. I'm a better warrior than you, so I should be made the general of the army. Ashwathama went on caste, and Ashwathama said, you don't have a right to become the general because you're just the son of a charioteer, Suta Putra. And Karna was so vexed by it. Karna said, Sutova, Suta Putrova, Yova Kova Bhavamyaham, Devayatam Kule Janma, Madayatam Tu Paurusham. Whether I am a charioteer myself or the son of a charioteer, wherever I am, it's up to God to decide where I'm born. It's up to me to decide what I do with my life. And I'm stronger than you. You think that you're able to be the general, but I forgive you for your trespass of insulting me. Because you're a Brahmin and you wear a janoi, I'll forgive you. Ashwathama was so vexed at hearing that attack on his caste that he cut his janoi off and he started slamming his foot on the ground. He said, I'm going to crush you under my foot. Karna said, I'm going to cut off your foot. And the two started to fight internally there. Duryodhana separated them and said, how are we going to fight the Pandavas when you two are just here all the time fighting amongst yourselves? Easily distracted. During the war, Karna's driver, his name was Shalya, his chariot driver. Now, Shalya is actually the uncle of Nakul and Sadev, two of the Pandavas. What happened was Shalya naturally should be joining the side of the Pandavas. But on his way to go meet the Pandavas and to join unto them, Duryodhana, he created his own special program. And he took care of Shalya on the road. He fed him and his army, gave them drinks, gave them a place to stay. Shalya was so pleased with all the arrangements that he said to Duryodhana, ask me for whatever you want, I'll give you a boon. Duryodhana said, fight on my side. And now Shalya was bound by his words. He had promised to give Duryodhana whatever he wanted and Duryodhana asked for the army. Shalya went to Krishna Bhagavan and explained the situation. He said, I shouldn't have promised, but I did, and this is what Duryodhana wanted, so now I have no choice. Giving my word, my oath, I have to fight on the side of the Kauravas. Krishna Bhagavan said, fine, you have no choice, you have to keep your vow, but I want you to do me a favor. And Shalya said, what do you want me to do? Krishna Bhagavan explained that Karna is easily distracted, and he has a lot of jealousy towards Arjun. Seeing me, Krishna, as Arjun's driver, Karna will also want someone very prominent and reputable to be the person who drives his chariot. You should offer your services. Become his driver. Shalya himself was a great warrior and he was a bit confused. And then Krishna Bhagavan said, all throughout the war, I want you to keep talking to Karna. Keep telling him certain things. Keep telling him that he's not good enough. That's it. Just keep reminding him that he's not good enough and keep him distracted. I'll take care of the rest. The word Karna in Sanskrit means ear. The word Shalya in Sanskrit means arrow. And Shalya kept firing these arrows in Karna's ear. Throughout 17 days of the war, every time Arjun would do something good, Shalya would remind Karna. And he would say, Arjun is a great warrior. Arjun is a great warrior. Karna was also doing good things throughout the war, winning on the side of the Kauravas. But Shalya wouldn't say anything. And every time something went bad on the Kaurav side, he would remind Karna that this is because of you. This is you and your army. You guys aren't good enough. As we said a few lectures ago, words are very important. The words we hear can turn a cow into a lion, and the words we hear can turn a lion back into a cow. That's what Shalya was doing with Karna. At one point, Shalya tells Karna, I'm going to tell you the story that I heard when I was growing up. Karna said, what's the story? And Shalya says, there was this crow that got separated from his group and ended up with another group of swans. And with the swans, the crow would also eat. But eventually, the swans only ate a certain type of food, and the crows will eat anything. They'll eat garbage. And the crow actually got fatter than the swans. And the crow started to think to itself, I'm bigger. I'm better. I'm stronger than the swans. I'm something better than all of them. But in reality, everyone else understood that swans are a whole different phylum. They're a whole different quality of things. Even if it's a crow and it's bigger and it's fatter, it's still just a crow. Karna was confused, like, why are you telling me this story in the middle of a war? Shalya said, Karna, you're like the crow. You live amongst the Pandavas and you see them and you think to yourself that I can be bigger and stronger. But in the end, no matter what you do, they're always going to be swans and you're always going to just be another crow. You'll never be as good as them. And you'll never be as good as Arjun. And all of these words eventually took over and Karna was not able to fight properly. Being distracted, it takes our mind away from what we're supposed to do. Again, the main topic of the Shrimad Bhagavad Gita is yoga. Focusing every one of our faculties, body, then breath, then mind, onto God. Distracting ourselves either physically or mentally takes us away from our end goal. The second enemy that Krishna Bhagavan talks about, Krishna Bhagavan says laziness, alasya. Now Yudhishthir, before the Mahabharata war, was known as a very prominent, very reputable king, and he was also very charitable. Every day, from sunrise to sunset, anyone who came to Yudhishthir and asked for anything would be given that as a gift. One day, at sunset, one person came in late. It was right towards the end of sunset. And the person came and he said, Yudhishthir, I apologize that I'm late, but I need to ask for some food grains, some grains for my home. And Yudhishthir said, okay, we'll give it to you tomorrow morning. The man didn't think much about it. He turned around. And as soon as he turned around, Bhim went and Bhim started ringing the war drums. And everyone in the entire kingdom, they were confused. Are we at war with someone? Or did we win something? What's going on? Why is he playing the drums? Yudhishthir stopped Bhim and he said, Bhim, we only play these drums when there's victory or there's a war impending. Is there a war impending? Do I need to be ready? No. So then what victory have we attained? And Bhim says, Yudhishthir, you've won. What did I win? You won the war over death. What are you talking about? That person just came and asked you for some grains today, and you promised to give him the grains tomorrow. You here are so confident that you'll live one more day. That means you've overcome death, and that's why I'm playing these drums. You've defeated death. Yudhishthir realized his mistake. He called the man back and he gave him whatever grains he needed. But Bhim was making a point. Bhim was saying that anything that can be done immediately should be done right now. Postponing it even for a little bit of time. Well, that's just a risk. That's arrogance. That's believing that we can overcome and cheat death at any given time. That's laziness. Any delay in any amount of work is laziness. Think to yourself, if somebody gave you $86,400 first thing in the morning, you wake up 6:30 a.m., you turn off your alarm, and there's a stack of money waiting for you, $86,400. But the only condition is you can spend as much as you want, but whatever is left over at night, I'm taking back. Would you leave anything behind? Of course not. In the same way, every morning you wake up, you turn off the alarm clock, God gives you 86,400 seconds. You can do with them whatever you want, but whatever you don't use, at the end of the day, God takes back. It's up to us to make the most of every second of our lives. In the Ishopanishad, after the very first famous mantra, Ishavasyam idam sarvam, in the very second mantra, God tells all of the devotees how we want to live our lives. He says, Kurvan neveha karmani, jijivishet chatam samaha. We want to live for 100 years, full-fledged doing karma. Complete action. For 100 years, we don't want to quit. Our scriptures are telling us to give 100 years at 100%. Water boils not at 99 degrees centigrade, not at 99.9 degrees centigrade. You need 100%. In the same way, 100% effort. In 1994, Pramukh Swami Maharaj was leaving London. At that time, he was at the airport and there was a delay and a cancel in one of his in the plane that he was supposed to go on. They switched planes. As Swami got onto that plane, Swami was waiting, and in about 2 or 3 minutes, one of the attendant Swamis was preparing Swami's seat. Swami turned on a small light and took out a letter. The attendant said, Swami, it's a matter of 2 minutes. You can sit down in 2 minutes and go to sleep. We're late. Swami said, in 2 minutes, I can read and respond to one letter. 2 minutes. There were no excuses at that time. There's no light. I'm standing in the middle of a plane. No excuses. And when you don't make a single excuse, that's how you can write and read 750,000 letters in a lifetime. Gandhiji would take every second. He would schedule 30-second meetings. 30-second meetings with people. While brushing his teeth every day, he would memorize the Shrimad Bhagavad Gita, and by the end of his life, he had memorized the entire scripture. Utilizing every moment of your lives. That's what Karmayog teaches us. And the last step is Nidra. In the Mahabharata war, during the war, after Dronacharya was killed, Ashwathama at night was thinking, how can he take revenge against the Pandavas? Late at night, while he was still thinking about it, unable to sleep, he saw an owl go from one tree to another tree into the nest of another bird. And he saw that owl kill the hatchlings. At that time, Ashwathama thought to himself, this is what I'm going to do. While the Pandavas are asleep, I'm going to go there and I'm going to kill them and all of their children. And he had this thought unethical according to any of the rules of the scriptures or any of the rules of war. Krishna Bhagwan found out. Krishna Bhagwan went and he woke up as many of the Pandavas as he could wake up. He said, right now, none of you are allowed to sleep. You all have to leave this place. Everyone was tired from a long day of fighting. Bhagwan woke them up, every single one of them. But Drishtadyumna, he stayed asleep. He just turned. Drishtadyumna was the person who had grabbed Dron and decapitated him. Ashwathama came into the Pandavas' camp at night and killed many people. And when he came to Drishtadyumna, he put a sword to his neck. Drishtadyumna prayed. He actually asked Ashwathama, let me die a warrior's death. Let me hold my sword in my hand. Ashwathama said, you don't deserve it. And instead of decapitating him, Ashwathama put his own sword down and smothered him in his sleep. Killed him like that. Nidra. We don't realize that we're sleeping away so much of our lives. As Henry Longfellow said, heights reached and kept were not met by sudden flight, but while their companions slept, those men were up toiling in the night. Those people who work harder than everyone else, when everyone else is sleeping, those are the people who succeed. The way certain athletes go even before regular training to do a pre-training, before everyone else, those are the people who want it more. Malcolm Gladwell, in his book Outliers, he quotes a Chinese proverb where he says, any person who wakes up every day at 5 a.m. for 360 days out of the year will never fail to feed his family. That's just a sign of telling us every person who works hard every day of the year, they will always succeed. At the very end, the 18th chapter of the Shrimad Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna Bhagwan reminds Arjuna that someone who is lazy, someone who sleeps too much, these are all signs of someone who is completely lost in ignorance. So while we learn these first steps of karma, the art of karma, yogaha karmasu kaushalam, the kusharta, the technique of karma, we have to first understand, stay fully engrossed in our karma and avoid these three things: distraction, laziness, and extra sleep. Astu.